in front of the door card that I made for the Jensen, one on either side. Thought it might be of interest to some people to see what's lurking beneath and behind the original door cards and the process that I went through to refurbish them. It wasn't an overly difficult task. So with that, let's have a little deeper dive into the door cards. I just thought I'd run through everything materials-wise that I used in making the door cards. Now, one thing to note on these is the stock door cards above the chrome trim piece have a raised section of foam that's thicker than the rest of it. If you're familiar with the door cards, you'll be familiar with this. I chose to just make the door cards flat top to bottom for a couple of reasons. First, it's a heck of a lot easier not having to have the rise in the foam, and second, it gives a little more space in the cabin, and I found sitting in the doors I was pretty much brushing up against that raised section, so I just chose to do a flat panel, and I'm happy with the outcome of that. And if you want it to be completely stock, then you'd have to get some thicker foam and raise that top section, but I didn't. So needed some sheet of 1/4 inch hardboard to make the panels out of. I've got some 1/4 inch upholstery foam here. Obviously some black vinyl. These are the replacement felt strips I ordered from Martin Roby for the top, inside against the window. Some kind of door pins to replace the old ones. These come in a variety of different styles. These are the ones I just got off Amazon. The back of the window crank has like a carpet underlay section glued. I had some of this 1/2 inch self-adhesive foam that I used to replace those, which were fairly perished. Not part of the original doors, but something that I used were some 1/8 inch rivets to hold the metal or aluminum header trim to the door card firmly, and as you'll see in the video, to hold that chrome piece onto the door, got an assortment of small washers and cotter pins. And then the adhesive I used was this 3M77, and to bond that felt strip to the door panel, I just used some of this Ultra Bond automotive adhesive. Something that's helpful to have, although you don't necessarily need it if you're just going to rely on the adhesive to hold the felt and the, sorry, not the felt, but the vinyl in place. Got some 1/8 inch staples, which can be hard to find, but can be found, and the small staple gun. But again, wouldn't necessarily need to use that, but it's kind of handy to have some mechanical fasteners. So that was everything I needed. Fairly inexpensive, really. To get this done, reusing the chrome trim from the original door and the rubber donut that goes around the inside of the crank. Here's the old door card, rather ratty and no mystery as to why I'm reusing it. I'm not putting the light back in, but I will be making it virtually the same as the stock ones. Everything in here is pretty brittle and wet and warped, so new one it is. I have already taken out, there's a 1/4 inch rubber spacer in behind the vinyl for the window crank. Already removed that, so now we'll just set about taking the rest of this door card off. So we'll start with this piece of metal trim, and it's just held in place with these little clips that are attached in a channel in the back of the trim, and they go through a washer and then are crimped over. These are pretty much toast on this one, so I will be figuring out a way to come up with an alternative for those. I'm not sure if they're available or not, but I don't feel like waiting, so I've got an idea of how I can fasten that in when I go to replace them. I've got a foam spacer on the other side of the door crank there, which I'll have to take off. This is the aluminum support plate for the door lock mechanism, and of course mine are completely perished. So I'll be making something up for the door locks as well. So let's go ahead and take that trim off first. Here you can see the trim with the channel, and you've got these little sliding pins in here. You can open up either end with a little screwdriver so that you can slide these out and put the replacements back in exactly the same way. All right, next up is the felt window scraper. It's attached through the vinyl and through holes in this metal header that's at the top of the door card, and it has these little clips. I am going to reattach the replacements that I have. I'm not using the clips, just with some adhesive, which I think will be fine. If it seems like it's going to loosen up, I'll fashion some clips to give it a little mechanical strength, but I think that should be fine. Anyway, this one's actually not in bad shape, but I have new ones, so that'll go. Matter of peeling back this vinyl now. The glue is fairly perished on here, and I don't actually need to do this. I've already made the new door cards, but what I'm after is this metal strip. So what I mean is I don't have to take it all the way off, all the way around. But I need the metal strip at the top. And here's the piece all separated. Now, if you did want to have the profile on the top part of the door card, you could cut this out carefully and save it and reuse it. It'd be a lot easier than trying to profile a new one. And finally, here's all the component parts. You've got the chrome trim, you've got the aluminum header, which I've cleaned up here, removed all of the adhesive from to get it ready to go back onto the new door cards. Old door card, this one still has the foam attached, and you can see how it lays out there. All right, so time to start laying out a template to make the door card. The door cards that I had are too wet and warped and ruined to try to use directly as a template. So what I like to do for these is lay out some cardstock. I built a perimeter around here first with some strips and then filled in the middle. Accuracy is really important in getting these holes for the pins that hold the cards onto the doors. I find if you just put some paper over there and do rubbings or something, you'll often end up with enough variation. So what I'm doing here is I've left the hole oversized, and then I've cut out separate holes. So I'll go and I'll put those directly over and tape them on, and then I'll get my locations pretty much exact where I need them. Done the same for the door lock and the window crank. There's a screw for adjusting the window frame inside, so that I'm going to put a relief in the back of the door card just so it can nestle in there. And I've got the door handles, so I'll go ahead now and put all those in, and I can peel it off and set about marking it out on the card. And now we have all the little holes laid out individually and perfectly placed. This is very helpful make sure everything's exactly where it needs to be, which is much better than finishing a door card and then going to put it on the door and find out that things are just a little bit off. Ask me how I know. Alright, so peel this off of the door and mark it out on some hardboard and get it cut out. That's the next step. To lay this out now, one thing I do is I notch the edges of the template various locations around the perimeter, and I'll use that to tape this down so it doesn't move and that it stays flat on the table. And then I'll go ahead and lay down some spray paint around it to mark out all the various holes and the perimeter, and that'll make it quite easy to cut. Out the general shape on the table saw. Just went lightly around the edges with the plane and then rounded it over with a small round over plane that I have. Next step is to cut the holes for the pins to secure it to the door. I've ordered these pins on Amazon. They're actually for a Toyota. The unfortunate part is the clearance in here is slightly small for this 1/8 inch hardboard, so I have to go clearance slightly all of these locations so they'll fit without binding. So that's what I'm going to do next. The mock-up. Put this on the door, a couple of clecos through the panel, through the aluminum header, and into the door itself, so I can make sure that everything is going to line up properly when I glue the panel onto the aluminum rail, because that is the other piece that helps locate the panel on the door. So, happy with all my alignments of all my little holes. I'll take this off, glue on the rubber ring, drill the holes for the chrome trim, and then I can start with some of the upholstery. Okay, I'm going to put some rivets in here just to hold it firmly in place, and then get the foam on it. Get the rubber donut installed. I drill the holes for the trim. Now just going through the process of laying down the foam on top of the door card. So I've put the adhesive on this, just smoothing it out, flip it over, make sure it's got good adhesion, and trim the excess foam all the way around, and getting ready to put the vinyl on top of the foam. I'll lay the vinyl down, mark out the foam here, and I'm just cutting the vinyl to size all the way around, and then I will go ahead and put some adhesive on both parts of the vinyl and of the foam. So here it's going on the foam. Nice tack coat on both pieces, and here it's going on the back of the vinyl. I'll lay the vinyl down on the table and put the door card on top of it. Pretty straightforward. You got a little bit of time with this adhesive to move things around, make sure the creases are out, so I'll just flip that over and smooth it all out. And yeah, it just takes a couple of minutes. This stuff sets up pretty quickly, and then you can just keep working, go on to the next stage. A couple of hardware related items. I thought I had recorded some footage of the cotter pin idea going through the channel in the chrome trim on the front of the door cards, but I didn't. So anyway, this is what I ended up using. The one-piece clips that have a head that slides into the channel can be fairly easily replaced by using a little washer through a cotter pin, and this washer just slid right down the channel. These washers are about 6 millimeters across, and they go in the channel, and then they can be positioned just like the original clips, as long as you can find some washers that are small enough. And then on the other side, on the back side of the panel, just another small washer over the top, and then bend the legs of the cotter pin down. So there's some footage coming up of those installed. And the other little piece of hardware, these are the original clips that held the doors on, and they've got a screw head on them, and they screw into a hole on the original panels and then obviously clip into the door. These ones that I ordered and that are also quite common go in a little differently. They actually require a larger hole and then a small hole, so the idea is that these will go into the larger hole and then clip into position, and then they function, of course, exactly the same way. So they just require a little bit more work to put another hole in there, but they're a lot easier to get in and out as well, should you need to replace them. Just got the vinyl put on the door card, hole to cut out there, hole to cut out there. And the way those clips work on the back, you can see pretty close to what the stock ones are, but using a little trick with the washers down the channel of the trim. Finish that up and get it on the car. Okay, moving on to the door lock mechanisms and the cover plates. Of course, the 50-year-old ones that were in the car were shot. They're not available anymore. I had thought about using some ones from a classic Mini, at least the slider and the plinth, but they're pretty hard to find right now as well. So I've decided to make some aluminum ones. This is 1/8" aluminum plate. I'm making a back plate and a front plate to sandwich either side of the panel. And I'll paint that black and put a bit of a bevel in it, so there'll be a silver reveal, which you'll see once it's installed in the door. There's the front, the coat of black paint on it. I've tapped this for some M3 black machine screws. So when those are installed, they'll disappear into the plate. I ordered some of these small knobs off of Amazon, and then I filled the back with JB Weld and drilled and tapped them for M3 as well. And I put some threads on the original rod, so this will just screw into place on the door. So here it is installed. I think it looks not out of place on the door panel and works quite well. So that's my solution for the door locks. And finally, everything in the door with the hardware installed. I've got both of them done. Didn't take too long, wasn't too expensive. I think anybody could probably knock this out with a little patience. And I'm happy with it. So thanks for watching.